Florence. Mumgard. Gaines. Glover. Jaworski. Klug. Stubbe. Ingberg.
We've got the Girl Scout troop from St. Columbakill, troop 42418 with us. It's going to help us in the pledge. Girls, you want to come on up? We've also got a proclamation tonight. Jeff, oh yeah, there you are. Jeff Perkins is with the tree board, an appointed volunteer position, and Arbor Day. Wanted to give a proclamation, then maybe have him share a few words. So I want to give the official proclamation. Whereas trees are a natural resource in our community, providing aesthetic benefits by bringing beauty into our neighborhoods, softening the landscape, protecting water resources, cooling us in summer's heat, warming us against winter's icy grip, and allowing us to experience natural beauty where we live, work, and play. And whereas our urban forest is a diversity of trees gracing our streets, parks, and greenways, they are magical jungle gyms for our children, their branches reaching to the sky, providing a place to exercise and frolic, a place apart from the hustle and bustle of our busy worlds, a place to fantasize and dream. And whereas planting a tree says we believe in the future, planting a tree says we will overcome the toughest obstacles to survive yet another generation. Planting a tree says our children will inherit a better world. And whereas Arbor Day is a special day set aside for the planting of trees, it recognizes the roots planted by past generations and symbolizes our hope and our commitment for future generations. Now therefore, I, David P. Black, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Papillion, do hereby proclaim April 29, 2016 as Arbor Day in the city of Papillion, and encourage people throughout the entire city to become more involved with the planting and stewardship of the urban forest throughout the year of 2016. Jeff? Want to share a few words on behalf of the tree board?
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yes, Council, thank you for having me here today. I just once again like to say thank you for the support that you have and the mayor and the city of Papillion for the tree board and the things that we're able to do. I think most of you may have gotten an invitation for our Arbor Day celebration, so if you can make it out, that'd be great, because we're branching out to Prairie Queen and out at the new recreational facility, and we're going to have some dedications, some tree plantings with the leadership SARPI group, and we've been a pretty good year this year. I think we've done a little more addition to a few things, like down at Veterans Park and out at Sumter Theater area, and we have some plans to do some more things. And one of the plans that we have is to try to work with the communications department and start educating a little bit with the public on the possibility of the EAB board coming through. And so we're kind of staying busy with that, but once again, I'd like to thank you. And on our tree board, I'd like to give special thanks to Tony, who helps out with that. And we have Chad Picca is on our board as well, with Tom Henton and Tom Lindell, or Mike Henton and Tom Lindell. So once again, thanks for the proclamation. We'll perhaps see you out at Arbor Day.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Tony, Tree City USA for how many years?
27 years, Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
That is correct.
And a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. Next is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve consent? Motion. Motion by Councilwoman Klug. Second. Second by Councilman Gaines. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item D1, Ordinance 1734, an ordinance to approve the change of zone of certain real property within the zoning jurisdiction of the city of Papillion, Sarpy County, Nebraska. Legally described as a tract of land being lots 1, 2, and 3, Henry's Highland Replat 1, a subdivision located in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 30, together with part of said southeast quarter of southwest quarter of Section 30 and also part of the northeast quarter of said southwest quarter of Section 30, all located in Township 14, Range 12, east of the 6th PM, Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located on the northwest corner of Highway 370 and 126th Street, from agricultural AG to urban family residential with a PUD2 overlay for R3 PUD2 and mixed use, to amend the official zoning map of the City of Papillion by changing the zoning district boundaries of the zoning map in accordance with Section 20532 of the Papillion Municipal Code and to provide for an effective date. Is there a council member that will introduce?
I'll introduce.
Introduced by Councilman Stubbe. Thank you. Several long ones tonight. Next is item E1, Ordinance 1717. An ordinance to amend Chapter 205, Article 4 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the zoning district regulations, Article 9 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the R3 Urban Family Residential District, Chapter 205, Article 10 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the R4 Multiple Family Residential District, Chapter 205, Article 12 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the O Office District, Chapter 205, Article 13 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Limited Commercial District, Chapter 205, Article 14 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the CC Community Commercial District, Chapter 205, Article 15 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the GC General Commercial District, Chapter 205, Article 17 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the LI Limited Industrial District, Chapter 205, Article 18 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the GI General Industrial District, Chapter 205, Article 204 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the L Large Project District, Chapter 205, Article 28 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the HOD Highway Overlay District, Chapter 205, Article 30 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Multifamily Design Guidelines, Chapter 205, Article 31 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Civic, Commercial, and Office Design Guidelines, Chapter 205, Article 32 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Industrial Design Guidelines, Chapter 205, Article 33 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with supplemental use regulations, Chapter 205, 34 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with supplemental site development regulations, and to provide for an effective date. This is a public hearing, and I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? I'll close the public hearing. Next is item E2, Ordinance 1718, an ordinance to amend Chapter 205, Article 35 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with landscape and screening regulations to provide for an effective date. This also is a public hearing. I'll open it. Do we have any proponents? Any opponents? Close the public hearing. Item E3, Ordinance 1719, an ordinance to amend Chapter 205, Article 2 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with development definitions, Chapter 205, Article 3 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with use types, Chapter 205, Article 4, Table 20538 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with permitted uses by zoning district, Chapter 205, Article 6 having to do with the RE Residential Estate District, Chapter 205, Article 9 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the R3 Urban Family District, Chapter 205, Article 21 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Downtown Overlay District, Chapter 205, Article 33 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Supplemental Use Regulations, Chapter 205, Article 34 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the Supplemental Site Development Regulations, Chapter 205, Article 36 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with off-street parking. Chapter 205, Article 37 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with signs. Chapter 205, Article 39 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with administration and procedures, and to provide for an effective date. I'll open the public hearing. Do we have proponents? Any opponents? Close the public hearing. Item E4, Ordinance 1731, an ordinance to amend Chapter 205, Article 2, having to do with development definitions, Chapter 205, Article 3 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with use types, Chapter 205, Article 4, Table 20538 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with permitted uses by zoning districts, Chapter 205, Article 25 of the Papillion Zoning Code, Chapter 205, Article 15 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the GC General Commercial District, Chapter 205, Article 17 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the LI Limited Industrial District, Chapter 205, Article 28 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the HOD Overlay District, Chapter 205, Article 36 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with off-street parking, and to provide for an effective date. This is also a public hearing. Do we have any proponents? Any opponents? Close the public hearing. Item E5, Ordinance 1732, an ordinance to amend Chapter 205, Article 31 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the commercial and office design guidelines, Chapter 205, Article 32 of the Papillion Zoning Code having to do with the industrial design guidelines, and to provide for an effective date. Open the public hearing. Do we have proponents? Any opponents? Close the public hearing. Next, item F1, Resolution R160042, a resolution to approve an application for Northwoods Cheese House doing business as the Stave, 320 North Washington Street, to add an outdoor area of 120 feet by 70 feet to their Class C liquor license. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R160042? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilman Glover. Do we have any proponents? The applicant is here. Do we have any other proponents? Do we have any opponents? We had one person call in, and I did pass their information on to council in an email, and I have it there. Do we have any council discussion? Mr. Mumgard.
Yeah, can the applicant come forward? We have some questions. Your neighbor to the west there has contacted us and expressed some concern about your expansion and your understandable desire that you'll have more people out there. And this is the woman behind you in that house there that has that little road that comes up. What are your plans for having music out there?
The music stays up towards 84th Street. We've had music since we've opened the patios up. And initially when we went over and talked to her, she said she's more than fine with the music being out there. With moving the fence line back, we did take into consideration that maybe on that back line, because how our fences sit right now, they're just the two boards basically that run around on a fence line.
You have been back and talked to her about the expansion plans you have?
No, we haven't been back to talk to her about it. We thought about putting up the privacy fence on that back side, just to, at least where the fence line is, to cover that, because where that fence is going to stop to the north, there's a bunch of tree line right there, so it pretty much would enclose the whole back of the property off.
Just ourselves, we were thinking about taking the front stage and moving it to the back area where we'd have more room for that stage. But in knowing that there was a house there, and even across the street, we decided to keep it front and forward just for that reason of any noise level or anything. So that stayed towards the front. It would be no different than it has been as far as music and stuff goes.
Well, and as I understand it, it's mostly been acoustic guitars, no amplified music at all.
Actually, when the guys get outside, some of them do hook up to amps, but the way that when they turn their speakers, they turn it more towards, so it goes in between that garage and the cheese house, so it kind of goes down towards
Downtown.
Towards the downtown area.
And it is all cut off at 10 o'clock. Always had our music stop then. I personally was wanting a privacy fence up just for the sight of that area behind us. But since we're not moving back that way at all and staying front and forward, it's not been something we've thought about since keeping everything up where it is.
Well, okay, let's go back to that fence. That could change a lot of the complaint posture for two things. One, it clearly identifies where your customers can be and can't be. And one thing she said I don't quite understand. Have you seen your customers using, that road that looks like a road, but it's really her driveway? Are any of your customers coming in from that west side?
I think in the last year, I've just with being outside, I've seen probably, and I'm on site all the time, so I've seen probably one car go up there. And I'm not even saying that it even came back to our place. I just saw it go up there as I was standing out there, turn around and leave.
Nobody parks that
Yeah, nobody
way.
parks up in there.
We deal a lot with the Lutheran Church, and they're all in approval of everything that we've done there. She's very protective over that road, and we knew that even getting the place. So
Yeah,
I've heard
you
of
haven't
anyone.
been, certainly you can't say that you've been a problem yet. You've been a great addition, I think, and a lot of people
Yeah.
enjoy what you're doing. I just don't want it to get out of hand. When summertime comes, you got such a great backyard, yeah, I can see why you'd want to have your customers out there. I can see why you'd want to have your music out there. But the fact is that you back up against houses.
Right.
And they were there first. Would you be willing to construct a privacy fence along the west side of the property line there, just to separate your backyard from the houses?
Oh, yeah, that's no problem at all. I would just, instead of putting the fence in we were gonna put in, I just put in a privacy fence down that run from where our fence is gonna be, is what you're saying.
Okay, now there's two houses, well, there's two houses right near you, but I think does your backyard then just completely cover the first backyard there?
Yeah, there's only the one house directly
We
to the
just
west
have
of us.
one house behind us.
Yep.
Yeah, then there's another one a little bit up to the north there. I'm sorry, I can't figure out your lot there. Does that abut that other house that's to the north?
There's no house. There's a field that the church owns on the north side of us.
Sure, but I'm thinking
Our property-
back on Adams Street.
Their property, and then the church has the entire next lot to both of ours north. So the next house would be across 4th Street on the corner,
Yeah.
where the church is on the opposite
I
corner.
think the one you're thinking of, they burned down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we
I know
have
what you're
one.
talking about. So we're really just talking about that one house directly behind you.
Yeah, and really where our fence is gonna be, it's gonna come off the edge of that garage back and then straight north. You know, it's off the property line, probably about 8 feet. And then there's a pretty good size row of bushes or hedgerows that run. I'm talking probably 10, 12 feet tall. So I'd probably, if I could, just stop it there and run it, you know, continue our other fence back up to the house.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to ask that your license be conditioned upon you installing and maintaining a 6-foot privacy fence along that west border of your property. I understand, you know, I realize you're a commercial business and you're sitting next to a residence, and that's always a problem for anybody. So the best thing to avoid problems is to separate them as much as possible.
And note too that, you know, we're not open from Sunday through Wednesday. It's the 2 evenings in a day. And then have the entire time kept open communication with her. So it just surprised me that she did request a polka band in, that we didn't do that yet. But
Well,
other than that.
Well, here, I'd tell you
maybe
that it's an automatic that you
Yeah.
talk with her constantly. She's your neighbor.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
be friendly with her. You know, a visit, you know, having her come over for complimentary cocktails might be a
Right.
good idea.
No, we tried. She didn't want nothing to do with the wine. She wanted Arbor Mist. So.
Oh, I can understand your concern there.
No, but we definitely want her pleased.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, that's the right attitude, and I think if you agreed to build a fence there, you know, we could consider, you know, other restrictions such as you can't have any amplified music in the backyard. I don't think we need to do that. I think you understand what you can and can't do.
Sure.
I mean, we could impose the condition that you have to shut off all music at 10 o'clock, but I don't think we have to do that. I think you understand what you have to do. So if you would just simply agree that you'll have a fence maintained on that west property line, I'd cross my fingers and hope for the best for the other things, and just give you the responsibility of being good neighbors and good business people. The last thing you want is the police visiting you because she's been calling and she can't get to sleep and stuff like that,
Right.
or anybody else in the area, because you're starting a good business there. Every summer it seems to get any better, and now we're going to slide the city back in front of you again. Isn't that great?
We're ready.
We're ready.
So you know,
So are you talking the fence that you want the whole west side covered, or just what we're putting in for the new fence?
well, I think you need to cover her entire yard. Anything less than that seems to just get halfway there.
Okay.
And I realize that's an additional expense, but
Is that
You
something
know-
that we have to reapply then with the city for a whole new fence line across the back? for permits and all of that, or is that something that's just kind of taken care of right now?
That's beyond my authority. You're gonna have to talk with those folks. But just that,
We may have to amend the permit, but we'll figure that out and touch base.
just so that the area that you're using, which I think is your entire yard, isn't it?
No,
Well, okay, you've got the garage there.
there's a garage and then the house, and if you come off of the south side of the house and then go to the west, we're gonna leave a good chunk of the yard not even closed in the fenced in area,
Okay, that's the area by your garage there.
north, on
Yeah.
the north side. Did you got a pen on it?
So Mr. Mumgarde, this will be the application
There's
area,
no,
right?
you know,
Yeah,
there's
I
no
see.
people or movement on 3/4 of the backyard.
Well, let's just put it this way, that the entire western edge of the licensed area
Okay.
has to have a 6-foot fence. And then what's the distance between the garage and the back corner there along the south?
The distance from the garage to the corner?
Yeah, to the back
To the
corner.
property
I mean,
lines?
are we talking 6 feet? What are we talking?
Well, that's probably to where that fence is gonna be, it's probably from here to here is probably in the ballpark 15. But then the house is here, and we're gonna leave the rest of this yard space, so this is where all those hedgerows are.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not talking about a fence on the north
This is the
edge.
fence that we want
Yeah, just the west
to
edge.
put in,
Yeah, just the west edge of your,
this one right here,
yeah.
of what we're doing for the license.
Well, you got, and then, which I think is 70 feet, and then you
Yeah.
have 25 feet that comes off of your garage back there.
Well, this one here is probably the longer run from the house.
Yeah, I think your application shows that about 40-some feet. I'm just looking at what you turned.
So, Mr. Mumgarde, procedural question, I guess. Since you mentioned a contingency on the license, my question to you is this just more of a gentleman's agreement, or do you actually want to amend the motion?
No, I want to amend the motion so that the record shows their agreement that they will put that fence in there and maintain it. Because then if we rely on that and you don't do it, you get to come back and visit with us and explain how you're a person of good character and reputation in the community. Because that's one of the standards for holding a liquor license.
So you're making a formal amendment to the
Yeah.
motion? Do
I'll
we
just-
have a second?
Well, let me express it. It's a 6-foot privacy fence from their garage back to that southwest corner, and then from there north along the licensed premises. Not all the way through your yard, just up where you're letting people drink.
Well, that fence comes off the edge of the garage and heads west about 15 feet,
Yep,
and then turns and goes north.
yep.
So you just want the north side, or you want the north side and back into the garage?
I think the north side and back to the garage so that.
I'm sorry, south side and back.
Yeah, just the west side and that south side, so that you've got an enclosure back there where the house would be on the other side.
You want to restate that as a motion then, so that we can get it for the minutes? And
Okay.
people are clear on what they'll be voting on?
Sure, it'd be my motion to recommend approval of the license contingent upon installation and maintenance of a 6-foot privacy fence on that area that I just described.
Do you have a second? Second. Please vote on the motion to amend.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
So the motion is amended. Any other council discussion on the amended motion? Anything else, Mr. Mumgarde?
No.
Okay, Mr. Stubbe.
Yeah, Mr. Mumgarde addressed a number of questions that I had, and I will support this because I think it really does kind of help out, kind of have that separation between your successful business and that one property owner. I think you had indicated that west fence is going to be about 8 foot off your property line, so you are definitely going to be close to the property line that joins your neighbor to the west, and I think it would be beneficial to have that L-shaped fence as a privacy fence there. So I definitely would support that because of that change.
That's no problem.
Mr. Ingberg.
Just to clarify, what we have here, whoops, sorry. What we have here is pertains to a liquor license, not to construction of the fence itself. So, you know, I assume there's no permit for any of that yet anyway.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
So this is for the liquor license.
Right.
Just adding a contingency to it.
Right, but I'm just, because there was a question about what we
Right.
do about the permit, do we amend it? Well, there is no permit yet.
Right.
This is,
And our building department will reach out to you to coordinate anything so you don't have that burden. So,
okay.
any other council discussion? Please vote on the motion as amended.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Do want to thank you guys for the business, bringing a lot of people downtown and adding to the viability, and it's been an important part of what's going on down there, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, we appreciate it.
One favor, I forgot it at the beginning. Can you state your names for the record?
I'm Chris Evich.
Mary Evich,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Next is item F2, Resolution R16-0044, a resolution to approve the Fifth Amendment to the Kingsbury Hills subdivision agreement. Do you have a motion to approve Resolution R16-0044? Motion by Councilman Glover. Second by Councilman Gaines. Do we have any proponents? Any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is committee reports, and I don't think any committees have met. Any comments from the floor? We got some students out there. You guys got to come up and introduce yourselves. Come on up to the podium and introduce yourself and what brings you here. Every one of you.
I'm Sahil. I go to Papillion South, and I'm here for my government class to observe.
Which instructor?
Mr. Keller.
Okay.
My name is Nathan Hackelman. I also go to Papillion South, and I'm also with Mr. Keller's government class.
I'm Savannah Ludeman, and I'm also in Mr. Keller's class.
I'm Dylan Vance, and I'm just here for fun.
I'm Victoria Killian, and I'm here from Mr. Keller's government class.
Thomas Dieball, Mr. Keller's government class.
I'm Journey Fletcher, and I'm what they said.
Thank you very much. And somebody did sneak out, didn't they? They knew it was coming. Any other comments from the floor? Any council comments? Just a couple of things from the last couple of weeks. Been out continuing to visit with the civic organizations on the May ballot question to educate on there. Thanks for everybody that's been coming along. In the last 2 weeks, I've done 4 more. Went to Trinity Village, Trinity Courtyard, the Bellevue Papillion Rotary Club, and the Leadership Sarpy Alumni Group. Also attended Project Harmony, speaking of children luncheon, do great work and great partner with the police department, especially around child abuse and sexual abuse. Wonderful organization. Attended the MAPPA Council of Officials annual meeting. Went to the Suburban Rotary's annual scholarship luncheon. We had a special needs student from Papillion La Vista that got a scholarship from Suburban Rotary. Also, Mayor Kindig and Dr. Rickley and I met talking about maybe some areas of cooperation, some things that impact both Papillion La Vista and the school district, and seeing if we can work together on maybe a few things, and should have some updates on what we're thinking there. Also attended the Friends of the Foundation for the Papillion Community Foundation. They're creating a Friends group to continue fundraising efforts so they can keep doing what they're doing and move that up to a higher level. Met with the Girl Scouts groups tonight. If you had not heard, the governor did sign the LB 1067 today to eliminate the common levy with the learning community, and our understanding or our knowledge is both Papillion La Vista and Springfield Platteview schools had previously signed a boundary agreement contingent upon that levy going away. So with that being said, the school boundary can now move down to Capehart. And I believe the east-west boundaries are generally 68th Street to about 128th. That's kind of that land that had not been developing because of that whole issue. So we think that's pretty much an automatic trigger now. So I think Mr. Sturzma is getting ready for maybe a wave of new development applications that have been waiting. Then just a sense of what's going on in the commercial world. Midlands Place is just in the last week, has put in a new building permit for another tenant. Market Point and Shadow Lake both have permits in for reinvestment within space of existing tenants. So all of our major shopping areas are getting new tenants and revitalizing old ones. So I think it shows a lot about the commercial market. A couple of reminders for the calendar. Thursday, April 21st at 4 p.m. is an open house ribbon cutting with Kevin Sapinski at Waddell and Reed downtown. And then Friday, April 22nd at 4 p.m. at the high school, Monarchs. They're opening a Monarch Garden. And then April 28th to May 1st, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., I believe, is cleanup days. What are we not taking? We're not doing the computers and tires and oils, right? Or paint. Okay. So April 28th, May 1st is cleanup days. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Klug. Second by Councilman Glover. Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned.